Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, on this wonderful Wednesday for another YouTube video. Allincrypto here, and today we are going to be talking about Cardano, and we have some pretty massive news to be delivering in this video. We're going to be doing a lot of catching up. We're going to be hearing from the governors of Wyoming in regards to Cardano and Charles's efforts in helping them to facilitate their own stablecoin, and that's where we're going to kick the video off. Then we're going to be looking at a number of different things. We are going to be looking at Greyscale's recent report on smart contract blockchains, which of course mentions Cardano, and then we're going to be going over to their funds, the large cap funds, which includes Cardano, and we're going to be looking at how technically that looks brilliant. And also we're going to be looking at their X Ethereum fund, which Cardano is the second largest holding of. And we're going to be looking at various things in between, like the fact that Cardano themselves have employed somebody at IO to essentially come and facilitate a stablecoin that they are behind. And of course, we interviewed the individuals, Mehen, who are facilitating their version of a stablecoin on Cardano. And this is just another one in the race. And that's really something that Cardano has been missing and is going to be a big deal. And before we kick things off and get into the clip of the governors of Wyoming, we always get the question, we cover so many different blockchains. You know, Cardano is one of them. It's a part of our portfolio. It's not the largest, but by no means is it the smallest. And it's a blockchain that we continue to champion. And the reasons why is because I believe it is the evolution of Bitcoin. You know, I'm somebody that's been in this space for a long time and truly believed in what Bitcoin truly believe in what Bitcoin is trying to do in regards to provide an alternative system to the current ones. And Bitcoin did that in the form of a peer-to-peer electronic cash and money, if you will. However, it's limited to that in regards to its layer one design. Cardano essentially came along and said, let's take this amazing technological revolution, which is distributed ledgers, and let's add an extra layer of capabilities onto it, but let's continue to maintain the ethos and the morality of Bitcoin in regards to it being a peer-to-peer electronic system that's ran by the people for the people. Cardano has essentially took that, it's even took EUTXO from Bitcoin and extended on it and said, let's build out this amazing operating system that you can essentially do whatever you want to on it. You know, anything that needs a ledger, anything that needs accounting, you know, you can do on Cardano a lot more efficiently in many cases than traditional financial systems. We know it's not the most scalable blockchain at the moment. There are paths forward for this, but it is essentially a kind of decentralized utopia. That's what it's trying to be, and that's why we like it. We think we've always called it an organic blockchain, and we think perhaps it's going to do well for the same reasons that Bitcoin did. But what I want to do, guys, is start off with a clip from the Wyoming Stablecoin hearing where Charles Hoskinson was at, and actually not listen to what Charles Hoskinson had to say, although it was great. Listen to what the governors had to say in response to what Charles Hoskinson said, like they're looking forward to working with him further. So let's get into that, and then we're going to be covering a number of different topics.
The insight that Charles brings, and in particular the idea of issuing a token by the end of the year, that was to a large degree, and we had the conversation and the internal discussion was, does not mean full implementation. It really means aspiring by that point to have an issuance in some type of a sandbox. And then what does that sandbox look like? So it can be an internal issuance. Basically, that's a good milestone, and that was what was discussed. I think the framework that Charles has laid out of trying to, along the way, build the pieces for the regulatory approach and make sure that we have international compliance, make sure that we have the capacity to engage in the retail market is essential to the success of the Wyoming stable token, but it certainly will take some work. And obviously, as we've discussed, the 500,000 was a jumpstart number, but certainly not sufficient to do all of this work, which is why the revenue off of it will come back to it. We've discussed things like revenue sharing agreements and other things to ensure that any partners we have would have the capacity to bring in sufficient resources from the process itself. The compliance from the regulatory standpoint that is faced by some of industry, I'm hopeful that the state of Wyoming can actually elevate that to some degree and provide support for the industry that's struggling with the federal government. That's one of the visions that we had was, I don't feel like the stakeholders are necessarily getting the appropriate attention that they need and being treated fairly in this space. And hopefully, as the state of Wyoming, and with our standing with regard to securities and with our standing as a sovereign entity of our own, we might be able to elevate some of those issues and hopefully help with some of the concerns that Charles raised. So I appreciate the comments and appreciate, obviously, all of your expertise, experience in this.
Charles, thank you. I think there were several points you made that I think are probably going to be part of further work that we do. And I look forward to engaging with you on this.
Just one final comment. The world is very excited about Wyoming, and I was recently actually in Abu Dhabi. I was at the ambassador of Barbados to Abu Dhabi's state, talking to the sovereign wealth funds there, as well as some of the leadership of the country. And as they were discussing the regulatory framework, they actually brought up Wyoming. Generally speaking, Abu Dhabi doesn't discuss Wyoming very much, and when they do, it's about oil and gas. It's not about cryptocurrency legislation. So this state has achieved a tremendous reputation throughout the world as an innovator and pioneer, and one that was willing to take a risk to embrace new industry. And while this is an incredibly exciting piece of legislation in that it could extend the dollar into the crypto space in ways that it should be, it is also a very risky piece of legislation if it's mishandled, and there's many challenges to it.
So there we have it. Very positive, from a number of different angles. And actually, a stablecoin is not just a big deal for whatever network. The Wyoming stablecoin is not just a big deal for whatever network gets it, whatever company is tasked with it, but it's also a big deal for Wyoming. It's really going to change the board, change the landscape for Wyoming, and how states within the United States deal and interact with the crypto space. And we also had Emergo. We've interviewed some of the Emergo members previously, actually talking again at the Wyoming Stablecoin Commission, which is interesting. It's very positive. If Cardano do get that, or Charles gets that, and his company gets that, it's going to be a big deal for Cardano, and you may see a stablecoin on Cardano, a state stablecoin. And I actually think this is a future that we're moving towards. On the topic of stablecoins, IOG is today announcing 2 new senior hires for their new stablecoin venture. Read more about it. Now, this is a pretty big deal, guys, because right now, one of the things that Cardano has really lacked on is stablecoins. And ultimately, they turned down, I think the Cardano Foundation turned down Circle's offer for what they wanted to bring a stablecoin to Cardano. And we've had a number of attempts. We've got IUSD, we've got a number of others. We're going to end up with Mehen stablecoin, USD-M, and we're going to end up with an IOG zone stablecoin and potentially others. And this is huge. This is going to bring a lot of liquidity to the space. And we have done a video talking about stablecoins and why they're such a big deal. What I want to move on to now, guys, is Greyscale smart contract platforms. Now, this was actually published today. The key takeaways, this is under their smart contract platform. You can see Ethereum, Cardano, Solana. And we know, and we're going to come over to, this is something that I've been watching with my group, okay? And we were very early in calling this. We've been very early in calling the shift from the bear to the bull generally. And for altcoins, it's been trying. However, they're doing the exact same thing today, and I don't see anyone else covering this, that they did in 2018, 2019. And we're going to show you that also. But you can see that this is Greyscale's digital large cap fund, and Cardano makes up a part of it. You can see it goes Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Cardano, and Matic. And of course, they've got another fund, which is the Greyscale Smart Contract X Ethereum funds, which is Ethereum, essentially competitors. And you can see it goes Solana and then Cardano. And actually their digital, and this one isn't publicly traded, but their digital large cap fund, we believe, looks amazing. And we think, and we have been highlighting this, if you guys want to join my group, please do consider it. We would now call this a stage 2 breakout. Okay, this is what we would define as stage 1. This is stage 4. This is stage 3. We teach all of this in our group. We believe stage analysis is the best way for investors to technically look at the markets and beat their peers. And since then, we've had a number of things take place. Let's drop down the timeframes. We believe, and we are identifying, and we are one of the only people that has used Greyscale's funds to determine where we think the market is heading generally, that this is a head and shoulders that is now playing out with a neckline of around, we would say probably $7.80-ish cents. Bit of a messy head and shoulders, but a head and shoulders all the same. We believe that this is a head and shoulders that is now on the path to playing out. So this is your initial head, which is going to give you a target. Let's just make sure that this is on log scale, which it is. This is going to give you a target of around 15 point something dollars. Okay, that's going to be a target that is going to nicely coincide with this level of support that's likely going to act as resistance, i.e. this level here. And you actually have a bigger target that we believe has just triggered in regards to this head and shoulders here. So you often do this thing called nestling head and shoulders when you come out of a bear or a bull, or if you're going into bear, this would just be flipped upside down. But this is the head and shoulders that we have essentially got here. We'll just draw this very quickly, guys. I do apologize for taking the time to draw this. Nobody else talks about this stuff. But this is probably a representation of how Cardano is going to likely do. You know, and then of course this is your new head and shoulders. That's going to give you, and notice this will probably run right into resistance of some form. And it's broken, it's triggered on volume, which is what you want to see. A target of right up here. So this is a kind of barometer of the way that the crypto space is heading. That's going to take you right into this support here. So this is where Greyscale's fund is heading. We this week, or over the last couple of weeks, have been long GBTC. We've been very public about that on our daily market updates. That, of course, has hit our target. We're also long Tesla, but we got stopped out on that. We are just long from a spot point of view. Leverage, they were the only two leverage positions. But things look pretty good to me. And in regards to Cardano itself, I want to show you guys something, because Cardano is doing the exact same thing that it did back in 2018, 2019. Bitcoin, essentially history is repeating, right? Barring March 2020's crash. We do think the crash is coming. We think it's later. This is fundamentally where we've disagreed and why we've been long the market this year. And we were out of it for the majority of last year. Bitcoin is doing the same thing that it did previously. It's had this initial run, it's retraced. It's had this initial run, it's retraced, but it hasn't retraced as badly because, of course, we haven't had the March 2020 spill up. That, I think, is going to come, or a recessionary event probably going into maybe 2025. And actually, BlackRock, as Larry Fink seems to agree with us on that. We did a video on that earlier. But if we overlay Cardano here, and we quickly get it away from Bitcoin Orange to really confuse everybody, you can see it does a similar thing, right? So in 2019, the market bottomed for Bitcoin and it went on to put in a rally, and Cardano did the same thing. In fact, Cardano went from 2 cents, bearing in mind we were buyers back here, all the way up to 9 cents. So nearly a 5x, essentially. And then it retraced with Bitcoin running into resistance, which is likened to the 13K resistance. Bitcoin didn't go on to put in a new low, but Cardano, of course, did. What is it doing today, ladies and gentlemen? That's a marginally lower low. One reason we got long Bitcoin was because of that marginally lower low and that bullish divergence that was apparent. Happening now for Cardano. Cardano very likely to play catch up. Okay, you'll have a divergence here. Have we got the RSI on? No, we don't. We'll pop that on. You know, you can see this was Bitcoin's divergence. This is one of the reasons we got long at the start of the year. Cardano will be doing the same thing, but history is repeating, and we're going to suggest with Bitcoin's next up leg, Cardano is about to start performing. However, we will see. Let's take this off and show you that divergence. So the bear could officially be over for Cardano, guys. But we will see. We've also got the Cardano Summit coming up. It usually runs into the summit. We've covered lots of different things, and we're not going to try and overload you with it. So on that note, I am going to love and leave you. Do not forget to like, comment, and subscribe, guys. Go over and check our website out, allincrypto.com. Come give me a follow at Twitter, @RealAllinCrypto, and we are going to be on most platforms moving forwards. All I've got for you in this one. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.